So I assume all of you know about the TikTok ban that happened about a week ago, but now the US government is back at it again and they're suing Genshin, in fact, for $20 million. Now, I'm going to explain why in this video, and why it's not going to be a problem for Genshin Impact at all. Basically, this whole thing started when they found out Genshin Impact was collecting data from kids that was not parental consented. Now, their government is trying to say that because there's a lot of child-looking characters in the game, it attracts more children, which there could be more children coming to the game, but I don't think that's really a valid argument. Now, the first change that Genshin is going to have to make because of this is they have to make it so people under 16 can't buy loot boxes, which they don't really have loot boxes. It's this thing called wishing, which is the gacha system. I'm not going to go into it because it is really complicated, but if you want to know more about it, you can just look it up yourself. You can understand it. Now, the next thing it says is they have to prohibit selling loot boxes using virtual currency without providing an option for consumers to purchase them directly with real money. Now, basically, you buy these wishes with fates, which are basically their wishing system, I guess. You have to convert your primo gems, which is the in-game currency, to get fates, which then you can use on wishes. It's not that complicated to understand, but now the government is forcing them to make that an option, so yay. I guess that's a W for the government. The next thing is they have to prohibit from misrepresenting loot box odds, prices, and features, which they don't do. So the government is just trying to figure out reasons to sue Genshin, cancel Genshin, whatever you want to call it now at this point. And I think that's pretty annoying. There are a couple other things I'll go into in just a second, but I just want to say that I think the government is doing this because it's a Chinese company that made it. It's a Chinese company that doesn't even have ties to the US government, and I feel like they're doing all this just because it's China. And I don't think they're going to do this to any of the Japanese or Korean gacha games. I think they're doing this just because it's China and they hate China. The next thing they have to do is delete any personal information previously collected from children under 13 unless they get parental consent. Now, I understand that, but how are they going to tell if they're under 13? They clearly lied about being 13. I don't even think they let children under the age of 12 play the game, so how are they going to tell they're under 13? And lastly, they're required to comply with COPPA, including its notice and consent requirements. Now, Genshin already says what information they're collecting, and they have no ties to the Chinese government. So what is the deal with this? I don't understand this. And also, the other thing is, I don't think this is for the same reason as the TikTok ban. Because the TikTok ban is because it was tied to the Chinese government and they were stealing all Americans' data. But in here, it just says people under 13. I think that they started discovering this stuff at the same time they were looking at TikTok. And they were like, ooh, how can the government get this company to stop collecting data? Just take away $20 million. But here's something funny. They can make $20 million in probably less than a day. So I don't know what they think this is going to do. And also, yeah, they're going to make all these changes, but like, is that really going to stop kids from lying about their age? Is that really going to stop kids from buying loot boxes, which is actually called wishing? And also, it's not even called loot boxes in America. There's no laws about them either. So, yeah, I don't understand this. Now, as I said earlier, they're not going over the American companies. They're not going for them. And they're also selling loot boxes. And they've never had problems with companies doing loot boxes before. So why Genshin? As I said, I think it's because Hoyoverse is a Chinese company. And the parent company is also a Chinese company that has no ties to the Chinese government. And also, you know what this also does? Those other gacha games, I don't mean like Gacha Life and Gacha whatever, I mean like Zenless Zone Zero and Honkai Star Rail. They are going to be scared into submission to the government now because they're worried about the same thing happening to them that happened to Genshin. This is really bad for the gaming community as a whole, and I think the government needs to not come after any more games. You may have also noticed there are things in there about being more open about what you're buying exactly. So, the problem with the government, one of the things they're accusing Genshin of doing, is a tactic called dark patterns, which is basically things that companies use to trick people into buying things. Now, it is a little bit confusing, you could say, but it's not really. They also accused Fortnite of doing this a couple years ago, and Fortnite, that one was like way less backed up with evidence, and they literally said, oh, well, you can buy V-Bucks from the page where you can buy a skin, and you have to buy skins with the V-Bucks, not real money, therefore it's dark patterns, and they literally sued Fortnite for millions of dollars. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm pretty pissed off about this whole controversy and this whole suing Genshin for $20 million thing, because the government at this point just thinks they can look at something and say, oh, that's dark patterns, they shouldn't be doing that, and then just sue companies for millions of dollars. Now think of games that are like smaller and don't have as much money, and how much that could affect them if they got a charge like that. And I feel like the government might start doing that with foreign games. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Like, subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. But until then, just remember, the government is run by lizard people, and that's why they're doing this.